Today, I want to talk about something that a lot of Bulls fans have been talking about, and not in the sense where it's like coming from a negative stance at all, right? It's the Kevin Garnett comparison for Caleb Williams. Now, I understand why people say it, and on today's episode, we'll talk about where the similarities are and why some people make that as well, because Caleb is a long, mobile, athletic, defensively minded forward. But at the same time, even with Kevin Garnett labeling him the little ticket, today I want to talk about the fact of this. Comparisons describe traits, but they don't predict careers. And I do think some people are confusing the two in regards to that because Caleb Wilson is not the next KG. And that's exactly the point. We're talking a little bit about that, plus dive into the mailbag and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into the content for today, y'all. So, the Kevin Garnett comparison for Caleb Wilson, it's tantalizing in a way, right? It's appealing for a lot of people, and there are reasons why it's appealing for that. Anytime you were compared to a Hall of Famer, NBA champion, and one of the most fierce competitors that we've ever seen in the history of the sport, and I mean that, it's swell. But I do think that sometimes, and for some people, and I say this because not everybody has the time to dig into the intricacies of what separates and stuff like that. That's part of the job that I do here. That's part of why, we have the outlets that we do have. But I do think that the Kevin Garnett comparisons for Caleb Wilson has gone a little bit, right? But I'm going to start off talking about why the comparison is appealing. One, similar physical archetypes. They both enter the NBA as long, mobile, wiry forwards. Like that's the baseline for both those guys, right? Caleb Wilson's currently listed as 6'10", 215 pounds, and Kevin Garnett's official NBA listing was 6'11", 240 pounds. That's after he filled out over the course of his season. Both entered their NBA around age 19, of course, right? And both had to develop their bodies over that time. And neither one of them are the more traditional, stationary, back to the basket power forwards, even though nowadays it's a lot more common than what it was when Kevin Garnett was really into the league, right? I do think both like to rebound to initiate offense. They're both going to be fierce rebounders. We'll see if if Caleb Wilson can get to where Kevin Garnett was. Of course, in North Carolina, Caleb Wilson averaged 19.8 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 2.7 assists. Kevin Garnett eventually became one of the best playmaking big men in the game of basketball, included 10 rounds, 3.7 assists, 10 rebounds, 10 rounds, 3.7 assists, and he was used to initiate the offense based off the way that he can rebound and, of course, in that high post. When you really look at it, and this is something that I had when I was in the debate league over in the PCL over on Player's Choice, I actually had a debate of Kevin Garnett versus Tim Duncan. And it was really interesting when you look at how much better Kevin Garnett actually made his teammates. But that's a story for another day. Go watch that episode if you want to see it, right? But I do think that Caleb Wilson is going to have a similar role of KG early in his career. Grabs a rebound, gets out in transitions, find the wings when he does have the ball, attack slower big men because that's where Caleb Wilson is going to go at, especially as he tries to fill out the dribble handoffs, run on dribble handoffs. Those are going to be really good things for him. And the defensive playmaking, right? Caleb Wilson averaged 1.5 steals, 1.4 blocks during his season in North Carolina, which is a really good amount of stocks to average, right? I do think, like young Kevin Garnett, Caleb Wilson has the weak side rim protection. He's a disruptive help defender. He's a switchable forward, and he's a transition threat because he can start the transition based off steals, and he's going to be one of those defenders that cover. I talked about yesterday his recovery defense. If you do get past him, you're still not in the free zone because he can block your shot, right, and catch up for you from behind. I think one of the things, too, that you hope that Caleb Wilson is going to be able to develop is that face-up scoring potential. That's one of the weak parts of Caleb Wilson's game right now. Now, he is more comfortable facing the basket than the old-school back-to-the-basket post moves, but Kevin Garnett was absolutely devastating in the face-up game, right? The face-up, the mid-post areas, those things, he could catch it out the elbow, and then when he caught the ball at the elbow, he was either going to score or he was a good enough passer to catch cutters. That's where I really get excited about Caleb Wilson and Miles Buzelis and those type of things. But I think the biggest thing that you look at both these guys and where the comparison is the strongest at is their motor and competitive edge. That's where these guys are the strongest at. Caleb Wilson is a guy that's super intense. We all saw it in the Summer League game, the who are you moment. You even saw him on the sideline in yesterday's game, a game that he didn't even play, right? The aggressive rebounding, the confidence that he has, in regards to, he doesn't back down. Caleb Wilson doesn't back down from anybody. And that's really where it is, right? That is where that Kevin Garnett comparison is the most useful. Them as competitors and them as people who want to be great, right? That's where the comparison gets the strongest at. But there are some key difference areas where they're really different at. And I think that's going to be the thing that really tells where Caleb Wilson is at. That's why I say comparisons are to describe traits, not to predict how you're going to play your career. The thing I always say when you get into NBA draft comps is that you can have a similar skill set, but the caliber of player that you are could become very different. And we're going to see what's going to happen in regards to that. The story's still being told in regards to how he can look in with all of that, right? But I just think that those comparisons are just, like I said, people are taking it a little bit too far at times. But I think when you look at the key areas where they're different at, one, the defense. Kevin Garnett was one of the all-time greatest defensive anchors and communicators on the defensive side of the ball. While Caleb Wilson is an athletic defender as well, we don't know if he's going to. The defense got better when KG was on the court because of the way that KG was a coach on the court and he called out what the other team was doing. We're going to see there. Also, the playmaking. Kevin Garnett was an offensive hub. And we have not seen that yet for Caleb Wilson. And right now he projects as more of a secondary creative or connective creator than being the offensive hub that a KG was. The handle. Kevin Garnett's handle was fluid for a big man, especially at that time. And we talked about it in the episode the other day, like Caleb Wilson, one of the things that he needs to strengthen is that handle, right? The scoring in regards to it. Elite mid-range scorer that Kevin Garnett was, post, and he could face up. Right now, Caleb Wilson is best in transition and at the rim and attacking closeouts, and we'll see how well that three-point shooting goes. And that's another thing, right? KG developed in the heavy mid-range era. Whereas right now, Caleb Wilson is more in a transition and three-point shooting era, and we're going to see how that ends up developing for him over time as well. I also think that Kevin Garnett had the strength to guard centers, and we'll see how that, I think Caleb Wilson is going to develop that as his career goes on. The big part of it is that vocal defensive quarterback that Kevin Garnett was. I need to see Caleb Wilson develop those parts of his game, and he could very well do that, right? But I do want to keep this in mind, right? Let's keep this in part of it. Kevin Garnett was generational when it came to a defensive mind. That's it. He was generational in regards to that. And we got to see Caleb Wilson develop into that. Caleb Wilson also is not the connector that a Kevin Garnett was yet. We'll see if he can develop into that. He may not have to because hopefully we always have a point guard on the team that can keep the team connected. Their shooting development and path is going to be way different. Caleb Wilson, if we look at it in Summer League so far, and what people are talking about is developing that three. Kevin Garnett in the era, it wasn't really about, I think Kevin Garnett was a career 29 three-point shooter. That's off the top of my head. I know he wasn't a great three-point shooter, but he didn't take a lot at any point of his career. Caleb Wilson isn't going to have that same thing. This is the era of the three-point shot. He's going to need to develop that a little bit, and he wants to develop that, right? And I do think that Caleb Wilson could eventually become more perimeter-oriented than Kevin Garnett ever was. And I don't mean that as a slight to Garnett. That was the era that we lived in. But I do think more three-point attempts, more straight-line drives from the three-point line as well. More transition offense is going to happen there. More switching on the perimeter is going to happen there. And I do think one of the big things for Caleb Wilson is how does he create out the short roll, and if he can do that consistently, and how that helps him in regards to that one. He's going to have very fewer traditional post-up opportunities than what Kevin Garnett can have, especially early in his career. Everybody kind of develops a post game as their career goes on. For Caleb Wilson, it's not about the post game initially. It's about three-point shooting and the dribbling, like we talked about in the episode the other day. I think that's going to be a strong part for this for Caleb Wilson. Caleb, listen, at the end of the day, if he becomes an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year caliber player, or a franchise changer, that all remains to be seen for Caleb Wilson, right? I just think at the end of the day, let Caleb Wilson be the first Caleb Wilson, which is something that he himself said as well. Caleb needs to be allowed to become his own player. That's what it comes down to, right? Yes, he has Garnett-like mobility, the motor, the defensive activity. They're all reasonably similar in regards to that. But I don't want Caleb Wilson to be the next Kevin Garnett. I need him to be the first great Caleb Wilson, right? And that's what I do. I don't want the comparison for that to then try to become his development plan, right? I don't need that to be that. Caleb Wilson's initial priority should be getting his body together, strengthening, adding strength without sacrificing his mobility, stabilizing his three-point shot, right? Whatever that ends up being, tightening his handle so that he can create a little bit more in that mid-range, make quicker reads. I think that that's a big thing for him with that improved passing. I think overall, like, if he can improve as that communicator on the defensive side of the ball, which I have no doubt when you look at how much natural leadership qualities that he does have, I think that's there. And I also don't want this comparison to make normal rookie struggles make it seem like it's bigger than what they are, like it's going to be a failure, right? You know, a normal rookie kind of stat line for Caleb Wilson could be 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and a steal, right? And if that's what he does in year one, that's a really good rookie season. But I can see some Bulls fans and how they're getting to it right now, could be disappointed by that when they shouldn't be, right? Now, I'm not here to tell you how to fan how you want to fan, but again, I'm just saying kind of try to be more reasonable. I do think that eventually Caleb Wilson's going to become a better three-point shooter than Kevin Garnett was. He's going to become more dangerous in the transition game than Kevin Garnett was. And even if he's a little bit less dominant as a defensive anchor, he's still going to have so much defensive responsibility and upside that is going to be there. So I just want this comparison to kind of just be there as what it's supposed to be. And I think overall it'll be fine there, right? The Kevin Garnett comparison should tell Bulls fans what the toolbox is for Caleb Wilson, not what his career is likely to become. The differences between those two can make their two careers very different and their overall finished play style a lot different, and that's perfectly fine. But I will say this, Caleb Wilson is a dog. He's a beast, and I love the fact that he's in the Chicago Bulls uniform, and we're going to see what comes with that because I do think some great things are going to come with that, with him being in the Chicago Bulls uniform, and I can't wait to see it. So, and again, like I said, people too before, stop trying to compare or cause a rift between Modest and Caleb, but we'll talk about that in the mailbag, right? But before we get into the mailbag, though, I do want to talk about that. You know, one thing that Summer League did do, I think, is that Caleb Wilson, Dalen Swain, we know that those guys are going to be, it's part of the Bulls development. Noah Eskingay as well. But I do think that the Windy City Bulls are going to have really fun game. Jalen Swellers is good. Donovan Atwell's shooting is too loud to ignore, right? I think you want to look at that. Now, I think that in regards to like, Donovan Atwell is just a three-point shooter. I don't think he really puts the ball on the floor or anything like that, but that skill set can become valuable in the NBA. I don't know if he's into the bench ready right now, but it is worth developing. Dalen Swain, he's showing winning traits. I love that he's the defensive versus, like, one of the reasons that reportedly Dalen Swain did not get drafted is because they questioned his defensive motor. This dude, I don't know if that woke him up or what it is, but this dude wants to be great defensively, and he has the scoring prowess on top of that. You know, he scored more late in that last game, 17 points on 50% shooting as well. The mic'd up moments from Jalen Sellers were really great in regards to that one. I think that we got something. Then also, Toby Awaka, his foundation is going to be rebounding, blocking shots, living off putbacks, right? And while at 6'8" as a big man, the uphill battle for him to be an NBA player may be a large chasm there, but don't count him out. Do not count him out because I think there's some really good talent in there for Toby Awaka. But I say this, I don't know who's going to coach the Windy City Bulls yet. I don't know if they've announced it or not yet. I don't think Billy Donovan 3 is still going to be on that roster. But I'll say this, I'm excited to see Donovan Atwell, Toby Awaka, and Jalen Sellers and what they can turn into. And like I said before, all these guys, but I said it more about Jalen Sellers, should be coming into training camp with the thought process of, I'm about to make the Chicago Bulls have to think about playing me NBA minutes. And that's really all that you can hope for, and we'll see what's going to happen in regards to that. But it is Saturday. That means it is mailbag day. Let's get into these voicemails, man. This first one that we have, this one's from Jeremy.
Hey, what is up, Haize? This is Jay Remy down here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just wanted to call, touch on a few things. Summer League's a wrap, so, I cannot wait for preseason to start to see Caleb and these guys with the actual team. It should be exciting. But, today's game was all right. Sellers, boy, we'll see. Like we keep saying, Summer League. It doesn't mean much. I saw some reporter or something was kind of goading Mattis, but he was talking about whether Mattis would accept the number 2 role or this and that. And I guess Mattis, kind of responded on Twitter and said, it's a team sport, and I just love to hear that. Like I said, I think they're going to push each other to be great, especially with Giddey. You saw how close his bond was when Oklahoma City came back with all them young guys. And now, we've got the same situation going on here. So, hopefully that's what develops. Essengay, the whole team's young. Even Norman, Norman Powell's not a grandpa. Man, the more I watch him, the more I'm impressed. Cannot wait to see Claxton and stuff. So, I just love that. And I like that. It was pretty funny that they asked Caleb about, if he knew exactly what his number was 8. And he said, yeah, that's flight 8. So, that's respect to Caleb. The dude's a dog, so I can't wait. So, peace out, and hey, let's go. Preseason. Be red.
Yeah, I say this, like having a platform like 670 The Score post such a casual take, man, it was wild to see, right? And it's why people can't stand the national media, because it's like you are posting clips that are like a content creator that is just starting off, that has to post something to try to get the attention of the timeline, because they're posted in the manner in which they did. Not to say, like, anybody can have a question like, hey, is Modest going to develop into a 1A? Is he going to be more of a 2 or a number 3 type player? That's a reasonable conversation to have. But to turn it around and be like, is Modest going to be able to handle? Like, they made it personal, like him as a teammate. I love that Modest responded to him like, hey, we're like, this is a team. We're going to do this together. I think overall, like, as you said, everybody's excited about training camp and preseason and just getting the season started, which for Bulls fans, considering where we were, I think that says a lot. Man. But all right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Jamal.
What's up, hey, it's your boy Jamal back again with another voicemail for you. So let's get into it. So we had our first summer league game. Of course, Caleb Wilson, as far as summer league goes, kind of lived up to the hype of being the 4th overall pick. He had a good battle. We lost the game, but only by 1 point. But what we saw from him is what I think a lot of Bulls fans are expecting. Of course, like you say, we don't want to be too hyped over just a summer league game, but it's kind of hard not to be. That being said, moving forward, I have to be careful calling you, because there are times where I just want to ask dumbass questions like, hey, can we trace Anthony Edwards? I know there's no chance of that happening, but I do have 2 legitimate questions for you. Number one, looking at the roster now, of course, we haven't seen him really say anything. What would you say do you think is a big concern or weakness that you can spot? I know a lot of people have talked about shooting, perimeter shooting, Norm Powell being the only real knockdown 3-point shooter we have. Do you think there's anything we can do to improve that? And number 2, and this was kind of personal, do you think there's any chance that Caleb could possibly really get Rookie of the Year? I mean, he's coming into a team that doesn't have a lot of, it's not like Patrick Williams, when Pat got drafted, where, he had a lot of veteran players ahead of him. He's coming into a team that he can get a lot of minutes to play, so do you think he can legitimately compete for that Rookie of the Year? Let me know what you think. As always, see where it go, Bulls, please.
Shooting is definitely our biggest weakness on paper right now. Like, it's our biggest weakness on paper. And I think we can get stronger on it. If Caleb's 3-point shooting is more legit than people expected, Modest improves as a 3-point shooter. Josh Giddey's off-ball 3-point shooting, that 37% that he shot last year maintains as well. I think we can be better than people are expecting. I just don't know if it's ever going to be a strength for us this season, right? And hey, if I'm wrong on that, I'd love to be wrong in regards to it, but, we'll see. We'll see how much of a problem it is for the Chicago Bulls as the season goes on. As far as Caleb, I think that Caleb can absolutely compete for Rookie of the Year. I think all players in the top 4 are going to have the chance. Caleb's going to have the role. He's going to have a team that kind of simplifies and maximizes what he does well. And Caleb, as a 2-way player, is going to have a lot of that ability to do that. Now, I think, Darren and AJ are going to have scoring, right? A lot of scoring, but I think they're going to have other players on their team that are going to need shots too. But I think Caleb, because of his defensive ability, because of how the Bulls are going to play in transition, those type of things, we're definitely going to play to his strengths, and he definitely has a chance to win Rookie of the Year. I don't know, not going to say how strong that is until we see the season going on, but he's going to have a chance to do that for sure. But all right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Tone.
Hey, what's up? This is Tone from Perth Amboy, New Jersey. I know I haven't called in a while, but I'm calling about how the Bulls changed the whole identity thing and everything, and I love it. But I was thinking about the segment that you said yesterday. Caleb Wilson, he's a dog. He's a dog. I ain't worrying about him. The guys that I'm worrying about are Dalen Sway and Noah Essendon. I know they're not there yet. Noah Essendon, he's coming back from an injury, so he has to rebuild his skills back up and everything. But Dalen Sway, I want to talk about him, and I agree with you. For one, he's playing out of position. You know what I'm saying? He's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard. So I was thinking maybe, the last 2 games of the summer league, they should try him at shooting guard just to see how it works out, And, no yesterday, man, I just hope he just has a good, good season with us, But David Square, I just hope that draft pick doesn't come out to be a bust, and I'm glad that we got Norman Powell so he can learn behind Norman Powell. But, I just love the way this organization is going right now. And I've been a Bulls fan for a long time, and, I like what I'm feeling this year, and I'm not saying we're going to make the playoffs, but I think we got a chance of sneaking into the play-in on a down low, because I see that a lot of people are counting the Bulls out, this, that, Josh City, like the way they always talk, the same negative as people, because I believe in my team, what I'm saying? I believe in my players, whichever player becomes a Bulls, what I'm saying? That's it, what I'm saying? He's like a player from the Chicago Bulls, and I'll never forget them, but, I just hope that everything works out for Sway, what I'm saying? Like, I got big expectations for him, man, like, I'm hoping that we can do something with this 2 to 3 years, like people will be like, they'll be talking about, watch out for the Bulls, but, I just want to thank you, man, you do an awesome job, man, what I'm saying? Just keep up the good work, man, keep up the good work. I listen to you all the time, man. You know your shit, bro. You know your shit about basketball, man. That's what I like hearing about you. I like to break it all down, but, thank you, man. Just keep going, man. I hope you reach the 50,000, Bye, man, and enjoy the rest of your day, man. Bye, brother.
Swain had a rough summer league, a very rough summer league. But yeah, let's see what he does in training camp. Let's see what he does in preseason. Let's see what he looks like with an actual point guard next to him. Again, like I know I say it, and I know Bulls fans, because, they're rightfully so, they're concerned. And I won't say that I don't understand the concern that some people have based off summer league. It's just that making the harsh takes on who they're going to be as players overall, I'm not going to do that based off summer league. I'm going to wait to see how it goes, how it develops, who and what he turns into. And we'll see, right? And people are like, oh, he's about to be 21 years old. There's no development at that point. Like, that's just false. We all know that that's false. So we'll see what it ends up turning into. I think it'll be perfectly fine. And we'll see how Swain goes. There's pressure on him, for sure. And it's pressure it should be on the Bulls to want to make sure that he works out and push this kid to be great. But we'll see how that works out. All right, let's get into this last voicemail that we got for today, man. This one's from Mike.
This is Mike from McHenry. I called earlier. You guys were talking about a backup shooting guard with the Bulls. I'm telling you right now, Patrick Williams can bring the ball up. He used to play guard, and he has a nice three-point shot, and you guys don't even think about this. Patrick Williams can play a backup shooting guard on the Chicago Bulls. I'm telling you this. Thank you.
Bringing the ball up doesn't really make you a shooting guard, Mike. And it takes a lot more to play this position than being able to shoot an occasional three and being able to bring the ball up. You got to be able to handle the lateral quickness of shooting guards. And P. Will sometimes doesn't have the lateral quickness to handle some of the quicker threes in the league. Patrick Williams is not a shooting guard. I don't know how to tell people that. I don't know why people will look at him and think he's a shooting guard. And I don't mean to be disrespectful in regards to you. Like, what you labeled were NBA skills, of course, and things that Patrick Williams has shown. But to think that Patrick Williams can be a shooting guard, I just think it's crazy. His skill set doesn't fit that. The lateral quickness, the mobility doesn't fit that. Like, it just does not fit that with Patrick Williams. And I think people keep trying to make Patrick Williams fit in when it's clear Patrick Williams is going to have a huge uphill battle, contract or not, to just be in the Bulls rotation this year. Now, if he comes out and shows some things that earns that spot, so be it, right? Nobody should be mad at it if Patrick Williams shows and earns a spot. But ultimately, you got guys that are dogs ahead of him now. You got Caleb Wilson and Modest as starters who are probably going to each average close to 30 minutes. You got Leonard Miller, who showed a lot more than in the same kind of roles than what we wanted to see P. Will at last year. You got Jalen Smith, kind of the consistent. He's going to play some backup center minutes, but he's going to play a lot of forward minutes too. So there's a real big uphill battle for P. Will to get those forward minutes. And if he shows it, great. If not, so be it, right? And that's just where I come down with it. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. I want to thank everybody who called in and left a voicemail. I appreciate you guys more than you ever know. Make sure you guys sound off down in that comment section. How do you feel about the Kevin Garnett, Caleb Wilson comparisons? How do you feel about him turning into his own player? You can leave your thoughts on any of the voicemails. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. But that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation